everyone. Welcome to this week's episode on Laid Back the Atirozinga podcast. And our topic for this week is building the next generation, mindset, skills, and direction for young people. And our guest for this week is Peculiar Owagbayegun. Peculiar is a university student who is building the project Polaris, which is focused on helping young people and youth to become their best self. Hello, Peculiar. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
So,
What a
is this your
pleasure.
first time on a podcast then?
So, in the real physical setting, yeah, 100%.
Okay,
I've done some kind of virtual ones, kind of like a Zoom in. It was just recorded, I guess.
yeah. But
But
in the
yeah,
studio, this is the first
in a
time.
studio, nah, this is my first one.
So, what are your expectations since this is the first time in the studio then?
It's a great question. To be honest, I like to keep my mind open. But obviously, lovely setup. Obviously, great host.
Yeah.
I've seen quite a few of the stuff you've done before as
Yeah.
well. So looking forward to a great conversation.
Hopefully, we're gonna have fun today then.
Indeed.
So, let's start off by describing what we mean by building the next generation.
Mm.
This is 2026,
Yeah,
and the world is driven by AI now and technology.
true.
So, when you talk about building the next generation, what do you think? What does that really mean in 2026 and beyond?
It's a great question actually. Because it's funny, AI has become something that's a part of a lot of conversations nowadays. But I still think building the next generation starts with the people themselves. You know, the problem that we've kind of had since even COVID times is that we've come out of a situation like COVID and people don't know how to talk to each other anymore. People don't know how
Yeah.
to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You'll go to a restaurant with your friends, your family, everyone's sat down, but everyone's on their phones. And even when it comes to, even interviews and being able to talk about yourself, share your story, things like that, people can't do it. Even regular conversations, people can't do it purely because you know, things like social media have connected us in a way that means we've actually become unconnected.
Yeah.
But also people generally have become more, I guess, in their shells, you could say.
Yeah.
So when I think about building the next generation, I'm still thinking about helping people to kind of build themselves as individuals. Because, AI is cool. All these other things that are going on are great. But without the people behind them, it's just another tool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would sum up.
So, but do you think what you mentioned about people not being able to express themselves in interviews and all because of COVID and the pandemic and how we use technological tools during that
Mm.
period? Do you think that's peculiar to young people or younger people, or do you think it extends to even the older people? Because sometimes when I interact with the younger generation, I
Mm.
feel like you could tell them, oh, you can actually talk to your friend. You realize they struggle to do that.
Mm.
But do you think that even extends to the older generation or just the young generation?
You know, funny enough, I actually think it does.
Okay.
Um, in the course of work and all sorts of other things, and just speaking to a lot of different people. I'm involved in quite a few different communities, so I get to experience like a wide range of ages as well.
Yeah.
Um, and it's always funny actually speaking to people who are like a little bit older, because they're actually experiencing the same thing as well.
Yeah.
And I've been in so many conversations where people can just rattle on about, no, things used to be like this, rare. So definitely, I believe it's not just affecting young people, but it is also affecting older people as well. Um, but yeah, to answer your question, yeah, it's not. I think it's actually a general thing.
Okay. So taking it away from that now and towards our main goal and topic.
Mm.
So do you think since we want young people to actually develop themselves, their minds and all, their mindset and all. So do you think talent is overrated compared to discipline and consistency?
Ooh, okay. I definitely am more of a fan of discipline and consistency.
Yeah.
Purely because I've watched it do amazing things for myself, but also for other people as well.
Yeah.
And I've met people that have talent, and there's nothing wrong with talent, but I've met people that have talent and don't do enough with it. They aren't consistent with it, they aren't disciplined with it, and subsequently, they're just holding on to a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Um, And one thing I'm also a massive fan of is action, because you realize if someone can take action consistently for an extended period of time, it doesn't matter where their talent started. You'll see that these people, if they continually
It'll keep
develop
on
themselves,
growing.
they'll catch up, if not take over.
Yeah,
Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So definitely a massive fan of discipline and consistency, 100%.
So, but being disciplined and consistent is
Mm.
can be a lot. To be
Yeah.
honest, it can be hard because it's not easy. All
Mm.
right. So, one mindset. If you have young people who are coming to you and you're trying to train them to become their best self,
Mm.
because most of them are actually consuming right now using a lot of social media. So,
Yeah.
how can you actually train them or try as much as possible to help them to have a mindset shift to go from consumers to creators,
Okay.
and then try as much as possible to keep on being consistent
Mm.
and disciplined with the craft they've chosen, because it's not just about going into it, but
Yeah,
you have to be consistent with it, like you mentioned.
it's true. I think the first thing, and arguably the most important thing, is to know what you want. And I don't mean you have to have everything super planned out, but if you have an idea of the life that you want to live, the life that you want to give to yourself and maybe people around you, because for me it's become a lot larger than just myself now.
Yeah.
Um, if you have that idea of where it is you're trying to go, you also realize there are certain things you can do and certain things that you can't do.
Hmm.
And so for me, when I was making the kind of switch from just consuming to creating, um, one of the biggest things that really helped me was I was sat down and I realized, because my For You page is full of all the motivational content, all the business ideas, all
Yeah.
the wake up at 5 a.m.,
Yeah.
do push ups at 2 a.m. in your
Yeah.
room, all of that kind of stuff. And, I got into a habit of watching that for a very long time. And the problem with that was you can fall into a trap where you're watching all of these things, and these things make you feel good because they give your mind the impression that you're actually making progress. And the problem is you're not making progress. You're
Unless you
actually,
unless you take action.
you know what I'm saying? Um, you're watching other people win, you're watching other people succeed, you're watching other people take action and get results.
Yeah.
Um, but you're not actually doing anything yourself. And I think for me, that realization that actually, since I started watching all this stuff, my life has actually not changed. I've not magically, grown, and it it made me realize that okay, these things are not just gonna fall in my hands.
Yeah.
I have to, like you said, take action. I have to start doing stuff. So then it was like, okay, now that I know I need to start doing stuff, what do I do? And what you decide to do, I believe, heavily depends on where you want to go.
I agree.
So one of the reasons actually I named the movement that I'm running right now called Project Polaris. So for those that don't know, Polaris is kind of like it's symbolic of the guiding force. It's the northern star that a lot of travelers used to use to guide them when they were traveling through deserts, whatever. Um, so I gave it that name because essentially what we want to do is we want to set the North Star and we want to take actions that align with wherever that direction is.
Mm.
So once we have where we want to go, the question is now how do we get there? Um, and there are a series of actions that you can take to get, and not everyone will take the same actions to get to
True.
the same place. Um, but ultimately, at the end of the day, you need to figure out what needs to be done. Figure out how you can start now, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month. It's already February 2026, and some people still haven't started
Yeah.
on some of the stuff that they set. And there were reasons for that. Um, but it's that sense of okay, figure out the direction, figure out how to get there, and figure out what's the maybe next step or the first step, or what you can do in the next week, 30 to 60 days to help you kind of move towards that. And then more towards the becoming discipline and consistency side of that. One thing that people get wrong about discipline is that, it's push, it's willpower, da da
Yeah.
da da da. Life became a lot easier when I realized that discipline is not about too much of the pushing.
No.
It's actually more about making things easy for yourself. And once I realized that i- that is essentially what discipline, or the best people who are the most disciplined, what they do is they make things easy for themselves. Once I realized that, it made a lot more sense,
Yeah.
and actually allowed me to be a lot more consistent. Purely because, number one, I wasn't trying to force myself to do stuff every single day. I realized, you. I guess to sum up what I'm trying to say, consistency beats intensity over the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do agree with that because everybody is different. I remember when I was younger, I had a friend who could play more than everyone.
Mm.
By the end of the day, they'll be top of the class,
Mm.
and they like making noise,
Yeah.
like having fun. And something happened that they were told, "Oh, do you know if you start keeping quiet and start doing this, maybe you do better and even be
Mm.
much better." When they stopped, they stopped. They regressed
Wow.
because it's not who they are.
True.
My point is everybody is different, so you need to understand yourself
Very true.
and then be consistent with that because that's how you can actually get to the next step.
Yeah.
So talking about, because you did mention that there are so many pathways, like you mentioned with Polaris, there are so many pathways to your end goal,
Yeah.
right? So what do you think are the non-negotiable skills that every young person should develop regardless of that path they've taken?
It's a good question. I think the number one skill that I focus on when I'm working with people is time management. Ah,
They struggle with that.
a lo- I don't know what it is, and I don't think it's just a young people problem. I think it's actually just a general.
I think even some older people do, to be
Yeah,
fair.
to be fair. But especially young, and the thing is, the reason I'm so passionate about it in young people is because, obviously, because I'm also a student, I literally see it on a daily basis with students. But time management, number one, because I've always believed that, essentially, and it's becoming more and more true for me now. Now that things are getting busier, um, your ability to manage your time is essentially your ability to manage your life, because you only have a set amount of hours in a week,
Yeah,
set amount of hours in a day, and you ultimately make the decision on what to do with those hours, what to do with those days.
yeah,
Um, so essentially, if there's somewhere you're trying to go, somewhere you're trying to be, okay, the question is, how do I use my time more effectively in a way that, I guess, ultimately increases the probability of the desired outcome?
yeah.
So time management, 100% number one. And then number two, interpersonal skills. So communication, being able to, talk to and work with
Express
others.
yourself, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Very, very important skill. And it's not just important for like networking or whatever like that. It's also for, like, obviously working in teams, stuff like that is very important. A lot of stuff is actually, team based now. Um, you can be a star, but if you can't work together with it, if there's no synergy there, if you can't communicate with people, it's going to be very difficult. And I think a lot for me as well when building kind of my brand, a lot of what people call my brand is actually just relationships with people.
Yeah.
It's literally just relationships with people. You're like, how did you do this? How did you do that? I just know somebody. I built a relationship with somebody,
A
and
person.
that's where a lot of people are like, especially young people. They don't know how to build and invest in relationships with the right people, because that's so important. You can build any sort of relationship with anyone, but it's the right people that make that kind of difference. So, to be honest, even those two, if you get your time management right and your interpersonal skills, you'll be good.
So talking about interpersonal skills and communication,
Yeah.
do you think it's more valuable than technical expertise then?
Ooh, great question. Um, I think even though largely it depends on what you're trying to do, but I think even regardless of that, interpersonal skills is so key because it's transferable.
Yeah.
Whether you're in tech, whether you're in medical, whether you're in like retail, whether you're in sales. In fact, it's especially important in sales. Or whatever industry that you go into, your ability to work together and connect with other people is going to be super critical. And we kind of live in a world that's constantly changing.
Mm-hmm.
People are switching from industry to
All the
industry.
time.
You know what I'm saying? So the question is, if people are switching from industry to industry so much, or switching job roles or paths or whatever, what then is the consistent thing across all of these boards? That would be your interpersonal skills, your ability to communicate with people,
Yeah.
present yourself, express yourself, etc., etc. Oh, and one skill that I forgot as well: self-awareness. Self-awareness is a skill,
Yeah.
people that are not. Um, but I know for me and for a lot of people, understanding yourself super critical,
Yeah.
super critical.
I agree with that. But taking it back
Hmm.
to communication and interpersonal
Yeah.
skills, right? You did mention something that's very crucial. That you said some young people don't know how to actually form good relationships with the right people. So that linked me back to networking now. Then, so do you think this is a skill that can be taught formally to young people,
Yeah, 100%.
and how can we do that?
So number one, through practice. But actually also number two, I think when teaching anything, the first thing that you need to do is to get the right picture of it in your head. For a lot of people, networking is going to that event, fancy suit, all of that kind of stuff. Go talk to people rare, collect the LinkedIn contacts. I know so many LinkedIn warriors. All they do is they collect LinkedIn contacts. They do nothing with it afterwards.
Yeah,
Um, and like people have the wrong kind of ideas about what networking is. So I think if we were to teach it, we would first need to address the current, I guess, perception of what networking is.
yeah,
Um, and once we get that clear, then we can start looking at, okay, cool. This is why you do that thing when you go to the event. This is why you talk to people. This is why you start conversations. This is why you build a relationship. This is why you don't sit in the corner of the room
yeah.
whilst everyone. There's a lot of reasoning behind that.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
So, but since you've mentioned self-awareness,
Mm,
interpersonal skills, time management are as important skills young people should have. Which of these skills do you think, or if there's any other one
mm.
you did not mention, all right? Like, I don't want to streamline it to
Yeah.
just three of them. But do you think that out of the three, or any other one, any other skill that you've not mentioned, do you think these skills, which of these skills do you think actually compounds the fastest over time? Even if
Yeah.
there's one you've not mentioned, all right? So I'm not trying to limit it to just the three,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
do you think there's any skill that young people can actually use that's very can actually be triggered to their development that
Mm.
compound the fastest over time?
That's a good question. I think I think if I had to pick one, I would still double down on self-awareness. And the reason I say that is because the more that you know about yourself and the more that you learn about yourself,
Yeah,
it equips you to handle life in a completely different way.
true.
Um, because one kind of, I guess, analogy that I like to use when talking about self-awareness allows you to know your greatest friend and also your greatest enemy
Enemy.
at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, and I know for me, understanding a lot more about the way that I think, why I do what I do. I'm very interested in like psychology, and why we work the way that we do.
yeah,
Because in learning how to understand people and learning how to understand all these things about why we do things the way we do them, I also understood myself as well.
yeah,
I understand the kinds of things I was afraid of. I understand how to be honest with myself, which is also very important, but something you can't necessarily do if you don't have that level of self awareness.
yeah,
Um, but even if you spend time regularly reviewing your actions, the patterns that you are consciously or unconsciously partaking in, you'll realize very quickly why things are the way they are in your life, and hopefully how to deal with that as well.
okay.
So if I had to pick any, I think self awareness would be
Self-awareness.
that one. Yeah.
Mm. Thinking about it, you have a point there because you need to understand yourself first
Hmm.
to actually take a good account of your strengths and your limitations,
Indeed.
and know which ones to double down on and which ones to actually improve on,
Yeah.
because it's really, really important, right? So, but if we take it now to entrepreneurship, because it's something I'm very, very passionate about, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of young people should be thinking about that.
True.
They should be taught financial literacy and all, starting up their own business
Mm.
and all. Um, so do you think entrepreneurship should be taught to everyone, even those that don't want to start a business?
I think so. Yeah.
Why?
The reason I would say that is because entrepreneurship teaches you skills that even if you're not an entrepreneur, you can still benefit a lot from.
Yeah,
And I actually think the skills that you learn whilst trying to become an entrepreneur, or even being an entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it, they also give you an advantage, even if you're not like running your own business or doing whatever.
yeah,
So those kinds of things like resilience and problem thinking, critical thinking skills, all of that kind of stuff,
yeah,
that people would, I guess, associate with entrepreneurs. Even if you bring that into, the working life and things like that, even like the 9 to 5, it gives you that edge. Okay, regular problems that people would see and maybe be defeated by, you will like, okay, cool. How can we tackle this? What's
yeah.
actually going on here? You
You
approach
keep
things
on
very different.
thinking.
You
Yeah,
know
you
what I'm
think
saying?
differently. Yeah,
Because you've already been through that process of working with your own ideas and having to overcome those barriers and having to like, find ways around
yeah,
things. Um, and even on the entrepreneurial side as well, people skills. Whether you're working with clients or running your own team, it's people skills.
yeah,
Those people skills are in the workplace, outside of the workplace, in your personal life, all sorts of things like that. So yeah, definitely it should be taught to everyone, whether you want to run a business or not, because I believe it will give you an edge in anything you decide to do.
yeah. So thinking about that, problem solving skills and all the skills and the mindset you mentioned that you can
Mm,
actually pick along the way of entrepreneurship, even if you don't end up setting up a business. So now, my next question now will link to that. So, what do you think is the difference between being educated
mm,
and being skilled?
mm,
Because you could see somebody who has a business but they're not educated, so they may
true.
have those skills. They have the interpersonal skills to play around with
Mm,
people, get them to invest in their business or buy from them,
yeah.
buy their product. So, what do you think is the difference between being educated
Mm.
and being skilled?
I would say the difference is action. And the reason I say that is because you can be educated, you can know everything and do nothing with it. No, there are
True.
some,
To
you
be
know what I'm
fair,
saying?
yeah,
There are people who are literally like living libraries. They
they
know a
know a
lot of
lot.
stuff. You know what I'm saying? Um, and at the end of the day, skills, especially if you become very good at what you do,
Yeah,
it requires reps.
yeah,
You got to consistently do it, and actually, more often than not, you have to consistently fail at being good at it
yeah,
until you get good at it.
yeah,
And the reason that I'm actually so particular about this is because I was learning the skill. So during my kind of period before I went back into school again,
yeah,
um, I had the privilege of trying to learn the skill of sales.
yeah,
Um, and one reason I struggled actually was because I knew a lot, but there were other things that were kind of holding me back. I was thinking about it too much. And I also realized I hadn't built the confidence in the skill because I also hadn't done enough reps. So then when I kind of let go of I know this and I know that, and I actually just focused on taking action
yeah,
and getting good at the skill, that's when things started to click for me. Because I wasn't focused on I know this, it should work this way. No, it's just okay, you do it, it either works or it doesn't, you go again. You
mm,
know? So for me, from my own kind of journey, I would say that difference comes from that action. You know, it's like if we go back to the analogy where I was talking about, what my For You page used to, I knew a lot according to what I was seeing on my phone, but ultimately I was doing nothing with it.
yeah.
So I was still in the same position,
Okay.
you know? Um, and actually, one of my mentors was telling me, and he was sharing a story about two people that he used to mentor. Um, and one of them was like myself. They knew quite a lot, but the level of skill and level of execution, level of action was too low. So they didn't get the results that they were looking for. But there was another one of the students. They didn't really care too much. They didn't know all the ins and outs. They knew enough to do what they needed to do, but the level of action that was there, and they've done enough reps, developed the skill, and got good enough. The person who didn't have all the knowledge but still took action and still sharpened their skills got much better results than the person who knew stuff but could get nowhere with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
BetterHelp is the paid partner of this episode. Growing up in Nigeria, mental health was not discussed in our homes. As a man, you are discouraged from showing your emotions as this is seen as a sign of weakness. If this resonates with you, you are not alone. About 62% of adults believe that societal attitudes stop them from seeking mental health support when they need one. And that's why I've teamed up with BetterHelp to stop the stigma around mental health and encourage you to seek mental health support from credentialed therapists when you need one. These credentialed therapists listen, ask questions, and help you to see things from new perspectives in order to improve your life. BetterHelp is on a mission to help you start therapy as easy as possible. If this is something you're interested in, click on the link below or go to betterhelp.com/laidback to match with a credentialed therapist in as little as a couple of days. You can also get 10% off your first month by using my link or the code laidback. So, but linking it back to what you just said, right? You know how you mentioned that when you tried out the sales job,
Yeah.
you realized, oh, you know a lot because you watch a lot of videos. But when you try to execute, you actually struggled a little bit.
Mm.
Um, so that means, for example, you must have built confidence from knowing that you have good knowledge.
Yeah.
So how do you actually because this is where a lot of young people may actually struggle. But it's good that you have that self-awareness. You realize you know a lot, but
Yeah.
you are struggling with the execution part.
Yeah.
So how do you think young people can actually deal with confidence because the confidence thing? Because how do you think they can deal with making sure that they have confidence
Mm.
without entitlement? Like, because
Mm.
think about it, because for in
Yeah.
your own case, you
Yeah.
realize you are confident that you know you are
That I know.
knowledgeable, but you also admitted to yourself, okay, maybe I'm not so good at executing.
Yeah.
But sometimes our confidence and our knowledge can actually play a trick on us, and then
True.
make us feel like, oh, because I must be good at this,
Mm.
or people must treat me better, or whatever.
Yeah.
So, how do you think they can actually build a confidence without that sense of entitlement?
Okay. I think the first thing that comes to mind um is understanding that the world owes you nothing. It
True.
owes you literally nothing.
Yeah.
You know, no matter where you were born, no matter what you've done, no matter yeah, regardless of who you are, the world owes you nothing. A lot of the things that you will get from this world are a consequence of your own actions and maybe a few external like things as well.
Factors, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, it comes down to what you do. And the reason I wanted to kind of I guess start with that is because when you kind of understand that the world owes you nothing, you see everything differently. So say for example, oh okay, this customer didn't sign up. Oh, they must just be like, oh, they must something must have been happening rare, rare. No, it's just simply they just didn't want to buy. They're not supposed to buy for you. They weren't waiting for you to come and meet them so that they would buy from specifically you. It's one of those things where you've got to let go of the fact that you've got to stop seeing yourself kind of as the only person on the planet. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of people have, I guess, what people I think they call it like main character syndrome or something like that.
Yeah.
You feel like,
Everything should revolve around you.
do you understand? And like the world's supposed to happen the way you want it to happen. Nah. If that was the
It
case,
doesn't work that way.
exactly. But a lot of people they don't grasp that. And I know for a lot of time that I also was someone that I didn't grasp that because maybe if someone wasn't replying to my message on time, this was like way back in like maybe secondary school. But if someone wasn't replying to my message,
You get
like,
angry.
yeah, like what's going on? Rah, rah, rah. I thought they were my friend. Rah, rah, rah. But you realize, and especially as I've got older, I realized, yo, people are busy.
People are busy with their lives.
People
Yeah.
do you know what I'm saying? Everyone is busy with their own life. Literally, everyone is busy with their own life. And you're like, in fact, for a lot of the people that I'm actually closer with, I like to surround myself with a lot of people that are also doing great things, doing well. And I understand the cost of that is that they are going to be busy because they are working on something, they're doing something. Um, and in the process of getting to grips with that, I had to let go of, oh, they're supposed to message me back in 5 seconds. They don't owe me that.
Nobody owes you that.
Do you know what I'm saying?
And you can actually link it back to what you mentioned about the networking thing and young people who go to these events
Hmm.
and then get LinkedIn contacts and all. I think talking to a lot of young, I feel once maybe they message a person or two on
Mm.
LinkedIn, maybe the person they connected with, and the person doesn't reply back, they get upset. It doesn't. See, I've done this so many years. Like I could send an email to a particular, maybe a top businessman I know
Mm.
who knows me personally, and
Yeah.
he won't even bother to reply me. I don't take it personally. That's where you need to learn
Yeah.
because it's one of the skills you need to learn as well. Emotional intelligence.
Oh,
You need to learn how to control your emotions. Because yes, I understand you're human, it will hurt
yeah.
you, but you shouldn't. That shouldn't now make you the next time you see the person, you start acting out. No,
Yeah.
because once you do that, if there's any deal or business or whatever you're supposed to do with that person, it's that's the end of it.
Yeah.
So, but it's something, but whether we like it or not, it's something people need to learn, right?
Indeed.
Because it's really, really important. So, but thinking about that now,
Mm.
right? When we talk about young people, so what do you think is the danger of drifting without a clear long-term plan? Because you can see somebody who say, oh, "Okay, do you know what? I want to be rich," but you ask them, "How do you want to be rich?" They say they don't
Oh
know,
no.
but or they want to be successful.
Yeah.
Are you a footballer? No, or they don't know. So how what is the danger of drifting without a clear long-term plan for yourself?
I think it's. I think the ultimate cost is opportunities. And the reason I say that is because there are opportunities that may only come across your table once in a blue moon or once in your life. And without knowing, so it goes back to what we were saying earlier. The reason why what we focus on first is what is the direction you want to head, where do you want to go? Because that will ultimately dictate, like I was saying before, how you use your time, but also subsequently which opportunities and what route paths you respond to.
True.
So, say for example, so one of the things that we do in the like the framework that we have is we focus on four things. So that's identity, intention, innovation, and then iteration. And in this innovation series, that's where we focus on the goal that you have, um, what that basically entails, and what opportunities align with that goal. Because if you want to be a doctor, you're not going to do the same things somebody who wants to be a footballer does. The lives that you live are actually going to probably be very different.
Very different. Yeah.
Do you understand? Um, so it's one of those things. Okay, cool. Where do we want to go first? What, even if you don't know the exact position or whatever, what do you want your life to look like? Because very often, a lot of the time, what I've realized, especially from speaking to other young people, even sometimes myself, I sit down and I'm like, Kai, where do I want to be? But sometimes all I need to do instead is think about, okay, by the time I'm maybe this age or whatever, what do I want my life to look like? Then I can start piecing together, okay, if I want my life to look like this, then I probably need to do this and do this. And I probably need to maybe at this point have done X, Y, Z, wherever that is for yourself.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember I remember the first time I wanted to kind of when the first time I started, like, I guess you could call it vision casting. I actually had to I went to go and look up how much a Rolls Royce is. So my dream car is a Rolls Royce Cullinan Series 2.
Yeah.
And the newer versions you're looking at about like 450K. And I remember at the time I was trying to like visualize or put numbers to what a lifestyle could look like. So I started with if I had 100K take home, what life could I live with 100K take home, maybe in the UK or somewhere outside of it, because that also plays a part as well. I was like, yeah, I want to have this car, and I was just running it through. I was having a bit of a conversation with like AI and then some other people I know as well. I was like, well, if you're on 100K, that Rolls Royce guy, you know that,
You're never
that
gonna buy
do
it.
you know what I'm saying? And so now because I know that, I'm like, okay, cool. First of all, I need to push a little bit further than 100k because 100k won't cut for the Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
But that's just an example of what you need to be able to do. If you can know where you want to go, then you can be like, okay, cool. What opportunities and actions align with wherever it is I'm trying to be? Um, because the danger of not having that is you miss out, like I said, on those opportunities. Those opportunities may come once, twice, or maybe just that one time. Those relationships that you need to build, if you don't build them when you need to build them, those doors may close before
Yeah.
you ever get the chance to open them again. And ultimately, I don't know if you've ever been in a position where you've finished a period of life and you feel like you've just wasted it before. Um, I feel like I've been in some positions where I'm like, I look back and I'm like, huh, if I'd have maybe done this thing a little bit differently, or if I'd have, sent that application or did that, how different could things have been?
Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is again, one of the dangers of not having a direction is that you do a lot of things that you don't need to do. It will cost you time, definitely,
Yeah.
but it might also cost you resources as well.
True.
This ah, things are getting expensive enough as it is for people that have direction and that I want. So imagine now if you're going from A to B to C to D all the way through Z, going and trying out different
You don't
things.
know what you
You
want.
don't know what you want.
But but what signals suggest that someone is actually on the wrong path?
The interesting thing about that is that's subjective, and
Because
it depends on what wrong
yeah,
is.
because that's why I asked, because the person may think they're on the right path.
Mm.
So is there any signal to actually highlight to the person, okay, bro, I think you're on the wrong path here. This is not your calling. Because
Mm.
I will use myself as an
Yeah.
example. As as a young chap, I'm still curious. I've always been curious.
Mm-hmm.
And because of this, I've tried so many things. There's
Mm.
nothing I've not tried. I remember I played a lot of football.
Yeah.
I even tried to be a professional footballer
Okay.
because I was good at it.
Yeah.
I in Nigeria when I was in secondary school, I was in science,
Mm.
but I
Okay.
was going for classes for accounting, which is for art
Oh.
students because
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Because we did business studies in JS1. In Nigeria, we call it like junior secondary
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
JS1 to
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Then after JS3, you are supposed to now do science.
Yeah.
But I
That's
was doing science because business studies leads to accounting and commerce. I
Mm.
started going to the classes because I was so curious. So my point is, so what was that? But looking back now and reflecting, it actually helped me to know all the things I know today, one way
True.
or the other. So what are the signals that one can actually use to say, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm on the wrong path here. Your peers who are in the science science field, they are focused on biology and all. Why are you going to their commerce
Yeah.
and accounts lecture? This is what I mean.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
is there any signal there for you to actually know that maybe I'm not doing the right thing I'm supposed to be doing?
So good question. Because it's like we were saying, and in fact, even like one of the things that I really like that you said is that even though you're going to those things and they weren't necessarily related, you still learned a lot from it.
Mm,
And I do believe whatever path you head down, there will be things to learn from that path.
true.
There will be learn things to learn from every experience that you find yourself in. But I think ultimately, I know for myself, and one of the things that I look at a lot is where my energy tends to be. And okay, so what does that look like? So I know for me, um, my energy is the highest, or I find the most enjoyment and fulfillment when I'm working with people. And actually, one of the things that gives me the most enjoyment is watching people get the most out of their lives. So, say for example, I have some friends that I've worked with, and one of the very first, I guess, people I coached was actually my friend from secondary school. And we are talking about uni, we are talking about also this, went through the process, rare, rare. And he came back to me one day and said, I just got my results back. It's the best results I've ever had. I was cheesing. I didn't even get the results. But just to see that in his own life, he'd gotten so a lot of benefit out from the conversation we've had, the work that we've done, that meant a lot for me. So I think for a lot of things, and even as it stands right now, a lot of how I evaluate my life is based on my energy. What takes it away, what brings it. Because I tend to find the things that bring me a lot of energy are the things that maybe I want to lean more towards.
Yeah.
So like starting this movement now allows me to work with people, get the best out of people. And also if I do this right, when I do this right,
Yeah.
um, it can also be lucrative. Do
Yeah. True.
you know what I'm saying? So there's that aspect of fulfillment, but then also that kind of like practical aspect of finance and future planning. Rah, rah, rah.
Yeah.
But I think more to answer the question, I think it's first of all energy. A lot of people, especially if they're working and stuff already, a lot of people wake up and oh, it's Monday. Once
Let's start complaining.
Do you know what I'm saying? They start complaining. And one story actually that I had recently that I really love was at my university. There's a program called Inside Edge Mentoring. Shout out Andy Morris. Um, and the reason I actually love Andy so much is because he loves what he does. He wakes up every single day, and like his essential goal is to take students that come in, give them the opportunity to better themselves. Um, and he's talked about his own story plenty of times, and if you speak to him, he'll tell you all about his story. Um, but one thing that I noticed from conversations with him was the very stark difference between when he was working that job at a very young age, working in kitchens and around people that and doing stuff that he didn't want to do, and didn't give him energy. That I was actually taking a lot of energy from him.
Yeah.
Versus working with young people and helping them to achieve their goals. The difference in the Andy it's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so at the end of the day, I don't think there is a wrong path, so to speak, because number one, success in and of itself is subjective. But I would say pay a lot of attention to first of all where your energy wants to be, but also learn to look ahead. The path that you're going down now, where will it take you? What does it look like in the next 5, 10 years? Because maybe what you'll realize is, okay, it might be great now, but in the next 5, 10 years, it might not be so great anymore. Um, so I think those two things, your energy and the future of the path that you're heading down, very important.
Yeah. So you just mentioned the impact of Andy Morris
Yeah,
on you,
yeah.
and then your impact on your friend as well.
Hmm.
So how do you think mentors actually shape the trajectory of young people? Because you just mentioned it's all about energy. So if somebody else is on the wrong path, do you think mentors actually help them to shape that trajectory? And for them to see
Mm.
this gives you energy and this takes drains your energy.
I think depending on the mentor, they can do that. I think that's something that probably needs to be done more like self to self. But if you're not able to do it, definitely having someone who can do it for you
Yeah.
um, is actually very important. Because say for example, like I was able to analyze where my energy was going and like all of these things because I developed that self awareness. A lot of
Yeah.
people maybe haven't. Um, and I know even for myself, having a mentor, they see things that you don't. Um, and that's actually so important because you might think that yeah you're doing this rare rare rare, this is what I want to do but actually your mentor might be able to see, especially if they know you well enough, that actually even though you say you're enjoying this route or whatever you're heading down in, where you maybe actually want to go is the other route. Um, but for me, mentors, it's never really been about that kind of that energy bit. It's been always more me, just me to me kind of conversations. But if you can get somebody that can do that for you, I would 100% recommend it. But for me, mentoring has been more about learning from their experience. And the thing is, and shout out Andy again, because he flipped my perspective on mentoring actually. Mentoring wasn't is it because I used to think mentoring was like asking for life advice, what should I do, but it's not. It's actually not about that at all. What a mentor should actually ideally do is share their experience with you. So if you were mentoring me now, what I would say a mentor should do is you share your life experience. I ask you questions based on your experience, and I take away from your experience what I should do. I don't ask you what should I do. I let you tell your story, and I learn from your story what you should do. So like the framework he tends to use is like, okay, don't ask a mentor, what should I do on my next placement year, or what should I do in my second year of uni? No, ask it, what did you do in your second year of uni? And maybe how did that help you or how did that benefit you? And when you let people tell their stories, you'll learn from the things that they did that worked, but also the things that they maybe didn't do that maybe would have made things even better.
Yeah.
And then ultimately the things that maybe that they did that ultimately didn't work out for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, mentors, 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Mm. Well, you also mentioned that you try as much as possible to um make friends with people who are actually working on things, doing well for
Yeah.
themselves, who actually want more out of
Yeah.
life. So, how does environment actually shape ambition?
Oh my days. I could talk about this for hours. um and I guess I'll start off a little bit of a story. So in my kind of in between my A levels and starting uni again, I had the privilege to, travel a little bit as well. And in the process of traveling, I met first of all, I got out of Leicester because I've been in Leicester for a very long time. So I got out of Leicester, and I went to go meet some people in some different countries, different places. And the first thing I realized is that the world is a lot bigger than Leicester.
Of course.
The world's a lot bigger. But the thing is, if you're if you stay in a place for a very long time, you almost you almost don't know any better.
Yeah.
If you're, in what people call an echo chamber, surrounded by certain beliefs, that's all since the days of Adam, that's all everyone has ever believed. If you stay in a place like that, you will end up the same as those people who have stayed there.
Yeah.
Um, so for myself, I took that opportunity to get outside. And what that did for me is I met people who think bigger, who do bigger as well. And I met people and they were doing these things all at as a very similar age to myself, if not, younger or maybe a couple years older. And the reason that was so important for me was because I realized that because at the time where I was in Leicester, nobody was doing all of these kind of ambitious things. Nobody was running business. I didn't know people that were running businesses at the age of 18, 19, 20, and not just running them very successfully. You know, I didn't know a lot of people, even between the age of 20 to 25. Again, young people that were doing all of these things. When I used to watch all these YouTube videos and all that, it was just people outside in different places, different countries, coming from maybe like the US or
Yeah.
all. And if I have to be honest, there were times where I thought, maybe it's just because they're out there. Maybe because they have that. No, but
Maybe their parents give them a head
yeah,
start.
do you know what I'm
To look
saying?
for an excuse, yeah.
And it's so easy to do that. But what you don't realize is if you don't get out of where you are right now, and if you don't get around better, and if you don't expose yourself, and that's the thing, you need to expose yourself, especially if you have a vision. Expose yourself to as much as that vision as possible, and expose yourself to people who are also heading in that direction. Purely because it's very cliche, but it's very, very true. You are a product of the people you surround yourself with.
100%. I believe that. And from my experience, from my experience, I feel like younger people argue a lot,
Yeah.
even when they don't know a lot. Like for example, like just like you mentioned, you could let's say because you maybe you went out of Leicester, you saw what people were doing for themselves. If you
Mm.
come back to Leicester and tell your friends, oh my God, see what these guys are doing, we can actually do that. They start arguing with you.
Yeah.
But you know what you're talking about because
You
you've
know,
seen
because
it.
you've seen it.
You've
You've
seen
seen
it.
it.
They start arguing.
Yeah.
And you realize a lot of people argue,
Mhm.
especially young people, and then people who are ignorant about something, they always argue. I don't know
Yeah.
why it's like that. They always argue. So how do you how can you okay, for example, let's say you've gone out, all right,
Mm.
you've seen that traveling is actually good for you, all right,
100%.
can actually make you to actually start thinking differently.
Mhm.
So how can young people create opportunities instead of waiting for them, apart from traveling is one of them because
Mm.
the moment you went out of Leicester, you realize the world is so big
Mm.
and
Yeah.
there are people doing so many things
Yeah.
with their lives.
Yeah.
And that's when you start realizing, okay, maybe I'm actually wasting mine. Because it happened to me at some point,
Yeah.
like when I was younger. I grew up in Nigeria. The moment I moved to maybe like Abuja in
Mm.
Nigeria, I realized, oh my God, I could
Yeah.
have done a lot of things with my time. Do you see what I mean? You
Yeah.
realize you even though you were doing well for yourself,
Mhm.
if you think about it,
Yeah.
but you could
Yeah.
have done more.
You could have done more.
So that's
100%.
what I'm saying. So apart from traveling, how can young people actually create opportunities instead of actually waiting for them?
Mm. Um, I think it goes back to because a very common theme um, for the successes that I've had, it comes from taking action before you're ready. And it's so critical. Take action before you're ready.
Yeah.
I'm a recovering, I guess, perfectionist, a recovering overthinker. Like, I could plan for the United States, but not do anything myself.
Yeah.
Um, and the reason that's a problem is because these opportunities, it's like we said before, they're not just going to fall in your hands. And also, there are people out there who are taking these opportunities and running with them and doing very well.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like you said for yourself, you know, you were doing well before, but you realized there was more to do. And you probably saw that there were people who were doing that more as well.
Way better.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
But, and one thing about me is like, if I can see that someone, it's kind of like, so growing up in an African household, one thing that you often hear a lot is, you know, if someone does well at something, do they have two heads? No,
Exactly.
they don't
African
have-
parents will tell you that.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
They don't have two heads. They just decided that they were going to dedicate themselves to this thing, get good at it, and they took action.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what most people don't do. A lot of people are waiting, whether it's waiting for opportunities, waiting for the right connections. Yeah.
Permission to even start.
Do you know exactly? In fact, I was speaking to somebody the other day, and they had a project that they wanted to start, and they invited me to kind of work with them on it. Um, and we had the first like meeting, and I had to tell them at the end of that call, massive respect. You had an idea, you had something that you wanted to do, and instead of waiting for, you know, I think it was like it was kind of like again sort of like a podcasty thing.
Yeah.
They didn't wait for the right equipment. They didn't wait to have a studio, great light, and all that. They just started.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you want to create opportunities, first of all, create. It's an
Start.
active word. You have to start.
Yeah.
You have to do something.
Yeah.
And the best part about life is that you can play around, you can experiment. Obviously, not like waste your life, but you can experiment with things. If something doesn't work,
You try new
do you
things.
understand? It's not the end of the world. Um, and I think also when it comes to creating opportunities, more than taking action, also speak to other people who are doing those things as well. Speak to other, like if someone's doing something well, go find out what they're doing well.
Yeah. Don't like I think sometimes one of the biggest issues people tend to have is one, they're not open minded, and then instead of collaborating, they compete. They become jealous.
Yeah.
If you see somebody who knows more than you or who is doing something good and better,
Mm-hmm.
don't compete. Don't get jealous. Try and understand what you can actually learn from the person and collaborate on a project or whatever.
Yeah.
And but this is the mindset you can actually have um only if you are developing yourself.
Yeah.
Because
Literally.
if not, you just sit there and start saying, is it not peculiar? I used to know.
Yeah.
We went to secondary school together and he doesn't want to talk to me anymore. No, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not like that. But you need to
Mhm.
understand that everybody is going at different pace
Yeah.
and
Very
everybody's
true.
developing. So Instead of competing, try as much
Hmm.
as possible. Everybody's happy to collaborate. Even your
Yeah.
professor at university, if you go to your professor today, trust me, and come up with an idea,
Mm.
he or she will
Yeah.
listen to you,
Yeah.
and they're happy to collaborate because if it is good.
Yeah.
So that's how people see life at a particular level.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one thing that I've seen, especially that started working for me, is like collaborating with other students who are like think like me, like forward thinking, ambitious as well. And what it's actually done is it's literally I don't even know what multiple to use, but it multiplies your effort so much.
Yeah.
So very simple example. Um there was someone that I'd been following on LinkedIn for a while. They're a student at my school. We never actually met in person, but we've engaged quite a lot of times over LinkedIn. Um and there was one event that we went for that we actually ended up meeting in person for the first time. I was like, oh my god, yeah, you're actually a real person. That's crazy. And what we did, obviously, we had some conversations, but one of the things that we did was, at the end of the event, we actually did a video together. And I was introduced to her audience, and she was also introduced to my audience as well. And what we've now been able to do as a result of that one video, we're pulling together a lot more students who want to be around the same kinds of people. And that's
Which
one
is
thing,
good. Yeah.
do you know what I'm saying? And that's what I found when building this project is when you create this kind of space, excellence attracts excellence.
True.
You know, people who are good at stuff will naturally want to be around other people who are good at stuff. You know, excellence also inspires a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
So one thing that happened as well, like a lot of what I guess I'll call A players and people that people are looking for, they attract also a lot of people that want to get better as well and that are also willing to put in the work. So we saw our students once we started coming together as because people actually know us for the fact that we post on LinkedIn and do all of this kind of stuff, share the stuff that we're doing. So when we started coming together, everyone who knew each of us respectively also started coming together. So now what we've built is a community where we're all learning from everyone's various and different experiences. I sat down having a conversation. I was learning things that I've never heard about before. Even in different and this is the thing. The thing that I loved so much about it is it was not industry like all these people that I'm speaking to connect, they're not studying the same course as me. They're not
Exactly.
even in the same like industry trajectory, but we are united by the fact that we want more, we're doing better, and all of that kind of stuff. We come together, have great and productive conversations. I leave some of the conversations that I have, and I'm motivated. I might have had the fullest day possible, but I leave these conversations ready to go and do more work.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one of the most powerful things about bringing together and being around people who kind of,
About environment.
do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you have to engineer your environment to help you
Yeah.
because it's
But
already not like it's already not engineered to help you. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But yeah, sorry, as you said,
that's fine. But because of time,
of
right? I'm gonna ask you one last question.
course.
So now that you've created that environment of like-minded students who actually want more out of life,
Mhm.
so what daily habits do you think separate high performers from average peers? Because I
Mm,
believe all of you guys want to be high performers.
yeah,
So what daily habits do you think separate high performers from the average peers?
I think one thing that I've noticed amongst all the guys because these people aren't just doing well academically, they also have maybe projects and things that they're doing on the side that are also going very well for themselves as well. Um, and one thing that tends to come up is planning. We are all always talking about yeah, time this. We don't have time for this. We don't have time for that because we do a lot of things. Whether that's within school or outside of school. Um, so being able to plan, whether that's for the day, because I myself I plan daily. I have a list of things that I want to get done in the day, and kind of to pair with planning, the ability to execute as well. So when I say execute, the ability to do something, get feedback from that thing, and then use that feedback to inform the next action, very important. And actually, the shorter that cycle is, the better. And along with that execution cycle is also the learning cycle. So your ability to do something, learn from it, again, get feedback from it, learn the next thing, and keep on moving like that, also incredibly powerful. Because if you can increase what people tend to call your rate of learning, you can actually accelerate your progress.
Yeah.
Because what would take somebody 10 years to do, could probably do it in 5.
Yeah.
Purely because maybe you made the same mistakes that they made twice as fast. Or maybe you had a mentor and just didn't make any of those mistakes at all. But to kind of come back to kind of what we're talking about, learning to plan, being able to plan, um, and then also being able to learn, keep and not just learn and forget, learn and keep on learning, but then also the ability to execute. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, what high performers do is they execute, regardless of how they feel, what's going on. They've developed that ability to get things
They
done.
want to do something.
Do you know what I'm saying? And like, especially with a lot of the students, like we all have very different backgrounds. Some of the people that I'm working closely with, maybe they're a bit younger than myself. I know some of them, they have kids as well, but they don't let kind of their different situations, scenarios be an excuse for not doing well. And I feel like a lot of people fall into that trap of victimizing themselves, and putting themselves. They like a lot of people disqualify themselves from the game
Yeah, true.
before they even start
Before they
playing.
even start.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Like these people that I'm working around and staying around, they've not disqualified themselves from the game. In fact, they believe very much they can win the game.
Yeah.
So just those few things: being able to plan, being able to be coachable and like keep on learning, being able to execute at a rapid pace, being able to execute, and then that aspect of that belief that you can win the game, that you can achieve the thing that you want to achieve.
Yeah.
I think those will help you become very quickly a high performer. You'll start to see results, and what that will do is that will also give you confidence. That gives you confidence, and once you have that more confidence, you can get more results,
Yeah.
and then it feeds itself.
Yeah. I agree. Because no matter how much you know, how much you plan, you want to execute.
Mm-hmm.
And when you execute, even when things don't go well, persist.
Yeah.
Because it's the belief that will help you to persist on the journey.
Yeah.
So, because you know where you are heading to. I agree with that. But because of time,
Mm.
if listeners want to connect with you or learn more about your work, how can they connect with you?
Great question. Best place to find me right now is LinkedIn.
So you're LinkedIn champion then.
LinkedIn champion, yes,
Okay.
indeed. I love that social media, man.
Yeah.
I've gotten so much out of it. In fact, the reason I like LinkedIn so much is because of the opportunities it's brought like into my life.
Yeah.
This conversation today came from
From
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, yeah,
You know
true.
what I'm saying?
True. Yeah.
So LinkedIn, obviously, just my name, peculiar, Owagbayegun. It'll probably be somewhere that they can maybe copy and paste it
Yeah.
because
It's long. It's fine.
you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I'm also on Instagram. But the bulk of what I do and what I'm building, I
It's on
document on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, find me on LinkedIn first if you're not on LinkedIn for some reason. Instagram is underscore PKSBG. The username was inspired by the fact that I'm a pastor's kid.
Okay.
And saved by grace, sent by God.
No fine.
So yeah, underscore PKSBG. You can find me there. And my face is literally in all of my posts, so hopefully you'll notice me.
Yeah.
But those are my top 2.
Okay. All right. But thank you, Peculiar, for coming in today, because
Thank
that's
you.
all the time we have for today. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. Honestly,
Again, hopefully we'll do this again.
as long as there's more wisdom to share, as long as just give me a time in the day.
No problem. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you as well.
All
Appreciate it.
right.